All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. It is Friday, August 2nd. This is Coffee Talk. I'm WESH 2 First Warning meteorologist Eric Burris. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather, and obviously we've got some stuff to talk about. Let's get right to it. We'll be in tropical mode today, watching Tropical Wave Invest 97. Invest 97 looking better organized on the satellite presentation this morning, and will continue to do so, we think, over the next couple of days' time. So, if you're new to Coffee Talk, and there's going to be a lot of people that are just kind of perusing, hi, I'm Eric. I'm a Central Florida meteorologist, but tropics are kind of my little niche that I really like to study a lot. And when the tropics get going, I'd like to think we do the deepest of dives on here and open up kind of a two-way line of communication. All right. It's also called Coffee Talk, so I'm going to be drinking coffee while we're chatting or talking. Coffee talk, get it? All right. Anyway, so there's a look at it on the infrared satellite imagery. It's not organized yet, but it is definitely beginning to try so. Visible satellite, certainly as we get more and more daylight, we'll be able to peek in on this thing. Latest from the National Hurricane Center showing a high chance of development. I'll be running it in the bottom left corner of the screen through Coffee Talk, but just to not double up efforts for this moment in time. There you go. 60% likelihood of development over the next 2 days' time, a 90% likelihood of development over the next 7 days' time. This is probably going to develop. Basically, on this graphic, what you look at, it's not a forecast cone. What it is instead, the X is where it is now. That line there is where it's expected to go before developing. And this big bubble is essentially where the Hurricane Center says, this is where we think it's going to develop. Okay, so we do not have a forecast cone yet. All right, we do not have the cone of uncertainty, or as I like to say, the cone of confidence. We don't have any of that stuff. What we do have, however, is all kinds of computer models and all kinds of fun stuff that should help us kind of dive into the depths. But before we get into the depths, let's just take a few moments' time, look at our Central Florida forecast, and while we're looking at all of those things, I'll have the tropical stuff in the bottom left corner. But I just want to make sure we're all good on the, as Mike Lyons would put it, the hits, runs, and errors locally. So we'll look at the local stuff real quick. We'll look at some local forecasting, and then we'll get back into the depths of the tropics. This morning, it's a lovely start to the day here in town. A couple of showers off the shoreline there of Brevard County. We'll take a live look on our first warning Doppler radar, kind of see them trying to come ashore, so may have a little bit of sprinkle action here or there. 70s and 80s, depending on where you are. Here's a look at the forecast, expecting a few showers this morning. You know what? We've got the little inset box, so let me do the half-screen version of that. We've got a couple of showers around this morning for Brevard, but I think this afternoon we're going to get into hot territory. We've got heat advisories, highs in the mid-90s, and then we get a 50% coverage of showers and storms. Here's the heat advisory map. All of us are going to feel like 109 or above. Cannot forget about our local forecast today. All right, we've got some showers and storms. We'll briefly take a look at Futurecast locally. All right, then we'll get back to the tropics, okay? All right. Through time, see some of those showers along the East Coast sea breeze developing, widespread stuff, 3, 4 o'clock, and then fading out. So maybe an earlier start to our storm activity today. This weekend, though, notice the rain chances elevated, you would say, right? Saturday, normal day, normal Saturday. Sunday, however, could get into some higher thunderstorm coverage because of the tropics, okay? Not going to be the most fun thing in the world, all right? So let's look at some timeline stuff. Let's just kind of get an idea, all right? So for today, Invest 97 is over. Cuba should not blow up into anything. Tomorrow, more than likely, we start to get a depression forming. Could even get that thing gearing up quicker. We'll talk about that. And then by Sunday, that's when we think that things are going to happen. Now, just so that you know, my Sunday off canceled. My Monday off more than likely canceled. So we are staffing up, not to hype. I'm going to say it again. Not the hype. We are staffing up to make sure to be able to cover this, but it's just going to be rain. Cool. We're going to cover it. But it's not going to be anything destructive. Awesome. I don't think any of us want that. We're homeowners too. We're going to cover it. So I want to make sure everybody knows that, like, yeah, no lunch, Frank, unfortunately. Um, so I just want to make sure everybody knows, like, we're going to be here for you. I'll be doing coffee talk, all of that stuff. You're going to see us on TV. We're going to have live team coverage on TV. Not to hype it. Well, hyping it. Are you sure? Because I don't think it is. And maybe our definitions of hype are different. Okay. But we're talking about a pretty decent little rain event. Okay. This is the forecast thinking. 3 to 5 inches of rain for like our many of our areas, particularly I-4 North and West. 5 to 7 though along the Gulf Coast, and that includes Pinellas County. Frank Burris. So yeah, we are in a situation where flooding is in fact a concern. Now, of course, it's going to depend on eventualities, where this goes, etc. But the kind of current thinking is on Saturday, normal widespread showers and thunder showers. Sunday, as this is moving through, Sunday's going to be the crummy day, we think. Flooding's possible. And then into Monday, as it's kind of exiting, maybe a tail of moisture. Flooding will be possible, particularly I-75 out west, okay? So let's get into the nitty gritty, shall we? First off, here's the satellite imagery. Okay, the storm system right now. No recon flights out there now, but certainly we'll be watching. All right. Michelle's asking what kind of wind, if any. Oh yeah, we're going to be looking at all the model data together. Okay. So let's start off and let's pull up the GFS. Load. Thank you. GFS 6Z. Okay. Casey, should I cancel my boat day on Sunday? Possible. Yeah. Sunday's not looking like a pretty day. All right. So here's the 06Z GFS. This is the most recent run of the GFS. Okay. And what I'm plotting here is wind gusts. All right. So for now, you kind of see the wind gusts down through the straits. There's that circulation center just off the coast of Southwest Florida. That's 9:30 p.m. on Saturday. All right. Coming ashore as a tropical depression, maybe probably a tropical storm. This model is bringing it ashore, like Port Charlotte area. That would throw some nastier weather into Fort Myers. So for my friends down that direction, for now, the indication is not looking like a Charlie or an Ian. Let's hope that that continues, right? But we watch computer model data to see trends. So this is the 6Z. We'll go back and look again at the 0Z. All right, that's 4 a.m. Sunday. Then bringing in tropical storm force winds into Orlando by 8 a.m. Sunday. Awesome when we're talking on Coffee Talk. We're gonna have some just gusty winds, that sort of thing. And then clearing out and moving away from us Sunday night. And then what's interesting is getting stronger. Potentially, you see some of those brown shades there. Could even be like a little bit of a hurricane situation. Oh, yeah, that's a hurricane. Dancing around the Outer Banks, becoming a major hurricane. And then just recurving and staying out. So that's the 6Z run of the GFS. All right. Let's look at the 0Z run. Just to compare. All right. Let's run through time. You're going to have to give it a second to go buffer the data. All right, so we've got it down through staying weaker. So the 0Z run seems like it's weaker, like a depression, getting into tropical storm status, but coming in more like Bradenton, Sarasota, kind of scraping along the shoreline there. during the early morning hours. That's 5 a.m. Sunday off the west coast of Florida, then working up the shoreline and coming in around the Big Bend. So, yeah. And then afterward, becoming a hurricane. Ooh, that's a nasty one. And then moving out. All right, so that's the 0Z run. All right, so GFS, West Coast kind of thing, right? And that lines up with the tropical models. And I'll show you the European here in a couple of seconds, but let's just peek in and look at all of the tropical models together. All right. Yeah. So it seems like, given the fact that this is not developed, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed um, how the computer models are doing just a fantastic job of this. So, yeah. The models are doing a fantastic job. Andrew's asking about hail. You usually don't get hail with tropical systems because they're warm cored lows. It's super hot through the atmospheric envelope. It's super moist, super gross. Yeah. Yeah. Mario's asking about Futurecast. Yeah, we'll look at it, and I'll take you as far out as that model will go. But wanted to look at the GFS, get it kind of a timeline, get it kind of a baseline. Then we can move over here and take a look at the tropical models. Now let's move over to the European. All right, 606Z run of the European model. Give it a second. It's got to go buffer the data. All right. All right. Not much organization. Love that. And that's as far out as it goes, is about Sunday at 7 a.m. But I'll have you notice, it's depression. Maybe some tropical storm. It would be a low end tropical storm according to at least the 6Z European. Let's load the 0Z. 0Z goes out further in time because every other on the European goes long. The 6 and 18Zs don't go very long on the European. All right. So the European is nice and weak, at least in the wind field, right? Yeah. And then once it gets off the coast of the Carolinas there, the European starts to organize it. But yeah, through Florida, the European keeps it super weak, like low end tropical storm / tropical depression. So I would say also, like, that's what's nice is as computer models give you data, you can take the information on it, et cetera, et cetera. But we're not looking at a situation where everything is going intense, 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 intense. You know what I mean? And that's good. Now, that said, give me a second. Invest 97. I want to pull up. There's some raw stuff that I just want to show, and I love it. All right, very good. Copy image address. Okay, cool. So, talking about the different models very briefly here, okay, you've got the GFS that wants to bring it to tropical storm status, a pretty decent little tropical storm. Then you've got the European that really doesn't want to do that. And that underscores intensity. Now, one thing that we can look at, and we're going to get into the weeds, y'all. We are going to get into the weeds. One thing about storms and intensity is because this hasn't formed a very well-defined low, it hasn't closed off a low yet, it's a little more difficult. It's a little more difficult to forecast intensity, right? So one thing that we use, of course, is our tropical intensity models. All right, so this is the intensity plots for Invest 97. Okay, obviously we're not going crazy on it. I do want to show that like one model is trying to get into Cat 2 intensity a little bit. But for the vast majority, and I'll scale this down just to kind of clarify that. But like basically what you've got here is through Sunday, Monday, then like landfall and interaction and all that stuff. So depending on landfall and all that, you've got some kind of stubbles and things like that, right? But One question that should be on everybody's mind is rapid intensification, right? We know that that is a thing. And so I'd like to share with you something that this gets into the weeds, but this is um, off of an incredible website. Tomer Berg is a PhD scientist in meteorology and has a great kind of utility for tracking tropical systems. And this is one of the products off of his website. And it kind of gives you ships data, for example, right? And so I just want, this is all kinds of analysis stuff, blah, 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 a lot of stuff. But I want you to look top left corner of the screen there, okay? And it's just kind of giving rapid intensification probabilities. Now, these probabilities should be taken with a grain of salt, all right? But it gives you at least an idea that there's a couple of different windows where we could see some sorts of rapid intensification. It's, 20. I've seen these numbers much higher for other storms. So it's not like we're overly concerned with rapid intensification. Okay. But still, 22% within the next 24 hours. So essentially, once it comes off of Cuba, there's the window. Then around Florida interaction, but around 48 hours after it leaves Florida, perhaps, there's that next window of rapid intensification, right? So it's at least worth mentioning that that's a thing, and thus something to watch, okay? All right, let's come over and take a look at our futurecast model. You see how I'm just kind of like bouncing around? Let's take a look at our futurecast model. Remember, futurecast does not go out very far. It's a high resolution grid. Yeah, and it kind of brings it ashore around like the sun coast of Florida, but it doesn't throw a ton of gusts our way, which is good, super good. It's more of like an oceanic type thing. So Futurecast keeps us weak. Okay, that's good. That's really good. Love that. Love, 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 love that. Okay, so let's see how that continues. I certainly would not mind that. Certainly would not mind that at all. Now, that's all looking at winds. We were just looking at winds. Let's switch around and let's look at rain. Aha. All right, give me a minute here. Bup, 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 bup. Okay. All right, let's look at rain here on Futurecast. So you can see big swath of rain Saturday night, right? Here's Sunday, big swath of rain. There's that counterclockwise circulation. Big swath of heavy rain as it moves through. And given the fact, and in case anybody's curious, given the fact that we would be on the right side of this storm system, at least parts of us, there is that added quadrant of rotation. So we would theoretically be getting ourselves into a tornado concern, right? So I would suspect a tornado watch would be posted for parts of the peninsula should this play out, at least in putting us on that right side. So it's all going to depend on kind of the angle of attack. But just a reminder, okay, for those of you that are newish to tropics, if you follow the direction of motion, so let's just say the direction of motion is following this, everything on the right side of the direction of motion would be of concern for rotation tornadoes. They're usually fairly weak, fairly quick, but there's a severe component to that. All right. So these are some of the things that we are certainly watching in terms of this storm system. Okay. Does that make sense? Everybody good with that? Right? So that's something we're going to have to watch over the course of today and tomorrow. So let's just put the timeline together, and I have to update this real quick. All right. So based on everything, here's where we're at, okay? We're starting to get more and more confidence on the forecast path of the storm system. So today's timeline for us is to continue to track. All right? For tomorrow, if needed, prep. I don't suspect we're going to need to do much of that, but if needed, it's easier to dial back from a prep countdown than it is to dial up. So, let's just watch. Today we're tracking. Tomorrow, if we need to prep for anything, but I don't, this is not a go buy all the bread, all the milk, all the water, all that fun stuff. This is not that kind of a deal. Okay. Sunday is going to be when the storm is going to be impacting us. And then on Monday, it lifts away and we, start to get back for normal weather. Yeah, Mark says prep for afternoon storms. Again, this is a timeline. That's all. That's all. This is just a timeline. Okay? Sound good? Yeah. Brian says, I guess I'd better bring in the plastic lawn chairs. Again, I don't think this is going to be that kind of a storm, but at least we're watching. At least we're tracking. That's all. Okay? That's all. All right. Yeah, John had some recons yesterday. Certainly going to be watching for some recon stuff today. But I think that this is going to be a big rain machine. If I'm honest with you, this is going to be a big rain machine, right? Like there's the storm system on Saturday, right? Hot day. And then on Sunday, depending on its exact path and exact trajectory, just a lot of rain. Just a lot of rain. Again, and it just depends on which model you go with, timing, positioning, that sort of thing. All right? Sound good? Everything? Yeah. Betsy says gas prices going up. I don't know. That's not my department. That's not my department. All right, let's look here. Rain numbers. Let's look at what the models are showing for rain. All right, so you can clearly see, we're going with widespread 3 to 5, depending on which model scenario you go with, but there's going to be some rain. Yeah. Juliet, if this shifts, should Brevard be added to the list of counties impacted by the storm? I haven't said anybody's not. I think we're all going to be impacted. We're going to get rain. We're going to get thunder. We're going to get lightning, potentially. It's an afternoon storm on Saturday. And then on Sunday, could get a bunch of rain, could get some severe weather. All of us are going to have to watch. Deborah's asking, do you think the airports will close? I don't know that this is going to be that kind of a storm. I think it's going to be a wet forecast looking ahead to Sunday, right? I think that that's where we're at. I think that this is going to be a big rain machine. And to that point, we say some of these weaker systems have the potential to be rain with a name. We could be getting there. For right now, the potential of rapid intensification is fairly low. It's not nothing, but it's fairly low. This is my big concern. This is my big concern. All right? Flooding is going to be my big concern. So you're saying Florida's going to Florida. Exactly. If it's named, will it be better than Tropical Storm Chris? I would suspect it would be. Sorry, Chris. This is the bottom line, though, in terms of scenario. Oh, where? How many different versions of this graphic did we make? Good gravy. Okay, this is the scenarios for this storm system. Okay, if the storm system itself trends a little west, which is looking less likely, then you get less of a severe threat and a less of a flooding threat. Oh my God, some parts of this are ugly. I gotta fix this graphic. Holy cannoli. Delete that point. Yes. Move you there. Hold on. This graphic is just ugly. And being the graphics police, I gotta do it. Fix. Set you. We don't need to have these lines moving. That's just awkward. All right. That's better. Good night. All right. So, yeah, the easterly track Looking more likely would be more of a threat for severe weather, just rain, pockets of gusty winds, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. It's looking more and more likely that we would be getting into that severe stuff. Dirty Debbie, I Gewalt. Ay, 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 ay. Joseph says it's Faye 2.0. The models for a minute were talking about this just sitting and meandering. Super glad that's not the case anymore. The models are all pretty in agreement that it's going to pop in, it's going to pop out, and we're going to move on with our lives. So, yeah. So, let's do this then. Let's look at the 7-day forecast together here, okay? And just get an idea of where we're at. All right? So, here's the 7-day forecast. And for now, it looks like Sunday is going to be the rough day. May end up having to call it a first warning severe weather day. We'll see how this plays out. But for right now, it's going to be a high impact day. We're thinking showers, thunder showers, could even get some severe weather, something like that. All right. So today, 50% coverage of rain. Tomorrow, 60%. Sunday, 90%. I'll tell you that I will be with you on Saturday morning on West 2 News Sunrise. I will be with you on Sunday morning for West 2 News Sunrise. We'll be there, baby. Remember, I told you we're ramping up our staffing to keep you updated, to keep you safe. That's hype. No, it's not. It's keeping you updated. Information, knowledge is power. It was a song we sang in kindergarten. Knowledge is power. No day off, Deb. That's the way it goes in hurricane season. Sucks. All right. Brandon, what about the storm behind it? Dude, we got this one to watch. This one is threatening our weekend. Right? So let's focus on this one. You haven't mentioned the Keys. What do you want me to mention? Gusty, showery, kind of the same thing. All that I'm talking about is kind of for Florida. We don't have a dialed in spot. We don't have a dialed in landfall point. So until we do, we're not going to be able to zero in on locations per se. Okay. That's why this is kind of the bottom line. It's interacting with Cuba today. As it tries to develop tomorrow, that's when we're going to know where it's going to want to go, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, I would say Sunday is probably going to look kind of like a bleh. Yeah. What time are you and Jeremy doing Tracking the Tropics? 10 o'clock today. So we'll do another deep dive at 10 o'clock today, looking at data. Jeremy Nelson and I will bounce data off of, bounce analysis off of each other and all of that fun stuff. Yeah. So it's going to be the same information because we won't have new model data by 10, but it'll be a bit of a different venue than Coffee Talk. I'll be less snarky. I'll dial it up a little bit. Yeah. Mickey's asking PTC coming soon. I would suspect that the Hurricane Center is going to do what the Hurricane Center is going to do. National has raining tomorrow. I guess I'm not rafting Okeechobee. Yeah. Andrew, Saturday doesn't look bad. Hold on one second. Let me just respond to this note real fast. AJ Burnett. This is a Skycast template, not that background template. All right, sorry. Sunday equals gross. Got it. Watching movies and doing nothing. Yeah. It's fine. It is what it is. Will you be doing coffee talk on Sunday? Yeah. As long as, yeah, I don't see why I wouldn't. On a New Jersey scale, you're nowhere near snarky. Well, I appreciate that. I wonder if the overall structure is vertically stacked when it comes off Cuba. Remember, land interaction is not good for these things, so it's going to keep it pretty weak for a little while. So, yeah, for what it's worth. All right? Sound good? Sound good. Supposed to be driving to Texas on Sunday with a friend. We may have to postpone it to Monday. I mean, it's going to rain. It's going to be crummy. So it's not a bad idea. Lori's asking about lightning and possible power outages. I would say power outages any afternoon. We could see that, right? With storms. Lightning, usually tropical systems don't throw out a ton of lightning, but we'll see. We'll see. Right. Um, Bonnie's asking, so it's not necessary to bring in patio furniture? For now, it doesn't look like it's that kind of a storm. I would just say again, on the prep timeline, we're tracking today. Tomorrow prep if needed. But I don't think that this is going to be that kind of a system. Okay? I just don't think it. All right? Kim says, I lose power if a frog farts. Yeah, like that. Asking about power outages, it's like, man, some infrastructure is better than others. So that's a tough one. Yeah. All right. All right. It's 8:31. I'm gonna log off. I'm gonna see you again at 10. Tracking the tropics at 10 a.m. with Jeremy Nelson. Okay? Sound good? Sound good. Said I. Said I. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. See you at 10 a.m. for that. Otherwise, I'll be posting to Facebook and Twitter and all that fun stuff. All right? All right. Very good. Bye.